Today's top predators are deadly. Sperm whales wrestle giant squid in the deep, orcas take down massive prey with precision, and bears dominate land, tearing through moose and seals. But prehistoric predators, they played by an entirely different set of rules. Unlike today's predators, which rely on strategy and teamwork, many Paleozoic hunters were pure killing machines. Ambush predators with jaws that could snap through bone, arthropods the size of crocodiles, and armored fish with guillotine-like mouths. The deep oceans were ruled by Cameroceras, a gigantic armored squid that ambushed its prey with deadly precision. Freshwater lakes weren't any safer, as Dunkleosteus, a monstrous fish with bone-crushing jaws, dominated the water. On land, Dimetrodon, a sail-backed predator, hunted with ruthless efficiency, while Arthropophobia, a nightmarishly huge millipede, crawled through ancient forests, untouchable by most predators. Even the swamps teemed with terror. Jaekelopterus, a giant sea scorpion, and the meter-long spider-like Megarachne lurked in the murky depths, ready to strike. Anomalocaris canadensis, the iconic 60-centimeter radiodont from the 508-million-year-old Burgess Shale of Canada, is one of the largest Cambrian animals and is often considered the apex predator of its time. This animal is commonly interpreted as a demersal hunter, responsible for inflicting injuries seen in trilobites. A new analysis of the animal's arachnid-like front legs demonstrates that, despite being a raptorial predator, Anomalocaris canadensis was incapable of crushing biomineralized prey with these feeding structures. The results suggest that Anomalocaris canadensis targeted mobile soft-bodied prey within a well-lit water column. Anomalocaris was like nothing we see on Earth today, but it's hard to blame it. Complex life had just started, and there were no blueprints to follow. Its body was lined with flexible appendages on each side, which it used like strange proto-fins to glide through the water. Two large appendages extended from its face, almost like it was wielding a pair of elephant trunks. In a way, that's exactly how Anomalocaris used them, grabbing prey and pulling it into its disc-shaped mouth. Anomalocaris had remarkable eyes that set it apart as an apex predator. These eyes, about 2 centimeters or 0.8 inches long and pear-shaped, were the largest in the region, and only Anomalocaris could have had them. The eyes were covered with tiny lenses, arranged in a hexagonal grid, much like the compound eyes of modern arthropods like insects and crabs. On the best preserved side, one eye contained at least 16,700 lenses, with the total likely much higher. This gives Anomalocaris some of the largest and most advanced compound eyes ever discovered, providing it with incredibly sharp vision. Scientists estimate that Anomalocaris had nearly 360-degree vision, allowing it to spot prey with exceptional clarity in well-lit waters. This sharp eyesight likely helped it track down prey and may have played a role in triggering defensive adaptations in its prey, further establishing Anomalocaris as a top predator of its time. During the vast expanse of the Ordovician period, when life flourished in warm, shallow seas, a formidable cephalopod ruled the oceans. Cameroceras, meaning chambered horn. This ancient predator belonged to the endosaurid group and was characterized by its straight, elongated shell, known as an orthocone. It thrived across the tropical waters of what we now recognize as North America, Europe, and Asia, making it one of the most widespread marine animals of its time. Cameroceras came in various sizes, with some species growing impressively large by cephalopod standards. Fossils indicate that Cameroceras turrisoides, discovered in Sweden's Boda limestone, had a shell length of about 2 meters or 6.6 feet, while Cameroceras rowanense was smaller, reaching 70 centimeters or 2.3 feet. However, older sources once exaggerated Cameroceras' size, claiming it could grow up to 9.14 meters or 30 feet. Recent research has debunked these claims, revealing that the largest known orthocone fossils actually belong to Endocerus giganteum, not Cameroceras. The two genera are nearly identical, with only subtle differences in shell texture. Cameroceras was one of the largest predators of the Ordovician seas, a distant relative of modern squids and octopuses. Unlike its soft-bodied descendants, it carried a long, conical shell divided into chambers, with a siphuncle running along its lower side to regulate buoyancy. In some species, this siphuncle was massive, reaching up to half the shell's width and filled with endocones, a unique feature of endocerid cephalopods. Its tentacled head emerged from the shell's opening, armed with a powerful beak capable of breaking through shells and exoskeletons. A radula or rasping tongue likely helped shred prey. Though often mistaken for the largest cephalopod, Cameroceras was historically a wastebasket taxon, with many fossils later reassigned to Endoceras and other genera. Pterygotus was the prehistoric equivalent of a giant aquatic scorpion, a formidable eurypterid that thrived from the Middle Silurian to the late Devonian. Much like modern mantis shrimp and horseshoe crabs, it was an armored predator built for hunting. Fossils of this ancient hunter have been found across Australia, Europe, North America, and South America, indicating a nearly global range. First described in 1839 by Swiss naturalist Louis Agassiz, its remains were initially mistaken for those of a giant fish. It wasn't until 1844 that Agassiz realized he was looking at one of the ocean's earliest arthropod predators. Among the largest eurypterids, Pterygotus grandidentatus reached an estimated 1.7 meters or 5.7 feet in length, with other species also attaining impressive sizes. Though massive, it was outclassed by even larger relatives, like Acutirimus over 2 meters and Jaekelopterus 2.6 meters. Smaller species such as Pterygotus capaninensis 50 centimeters or 20 inches were significantly less imposing. Pterygotus was an apex predator, relying on a combination of keen vision and powerful grasping claws to hunt its prey. Its compound eyes contained a large number of lenses and had a low interomatidial angle, a feature seen in modern-day arthropods that rely on sharp eyesight to track and ambush prey. This high visual acuity suggests that Pterygotus was not a sluggish scavenger, but an active and efficient predator, capable of detecting movement with precision. Its chelicerae, front claws, were robust and curved, lined with denticles or tooth-like structures of varying sizes, designed for piercing, grasping, and cutting, a hunting adaptation seen in modern crabs and scorpions. These claws were not just for defense, but were highly maneuverable, capable of twisting and tearing prey into smaller pieces. Unlike crabs, which use their walking legs to help manipulate food, Pterygotus relied entirely on its chelicerae to capture, dismember, and transport food to its mouth. Dunkleosteus was a brute, both in appearance and likely in behavior. It dominated the Devonian period, also known as the Age of Fishes, long before the first dinosaurs appeared. This period was a time of great evolutionary change, with the oceans teeming with strange and diverse creatures. While the seas were filled with armored fish and early sharks, Dunkleosteus stood out, weighing over a ton and reaching lengths of more than 6 meters or 20 feet. It was one of Earth's earliest apex predators, with a presence so formidable that few could challenge it. Unlike modern fish, Dunkleosteus belonged to a now extinct group called placoderms, characterized by thick, bony plates covering their head and thoraxes. These early fish were the dominant group for nearly 100 million years, and Dunkleosteus was one of the largest of them. The most fearsome species, Dunkleosteus terrelli, could grow up to 10 meters or 33 feet long. These giants ruled the seas with their massive size and strength, using their armored bodies as both protection and a deadly weapon. Its most remarkable feature was its powerful, scissor-like jaws. Instead of teeth, it had massive bony plates that functioned like guillotine blades, capable of slicing through prey with immense force. Researchers believe Dunkleosteus' bite force, 4,000 to 7,000 newtons, was one of the most powerful of any predator of its time, capable of crushing through the armor of other creatures like arthropods and ammonites. This jaw mechanism made it an incredibly efficient predator, capable of dismembering prey quickly. Though likely a slow swimmer, Dunkleosteus' sheer power more than made up for its lack of speed. It was probably an ambush predator, using its size and camouflage in shallow waters to overpower unsuspecting prey. Fossil evidence suggests that Dunkleosteus primarily hunted free-swimming creatures, often swallowing them whole. Many fossils of this predator are found with boluses of fish bones, indicating it regurgitated the ingestible remains of its prey rather than digesting them. This process is seen in some modern predators, such as birds of prey, which swallow food whole before regurgitating parts that cannot be processed. Dunkleosteus probably chilled in the coastal waters, lurking in the shallows, where its badass jaws could wreck any prey that came too close. Its fossilized remains, particularly those found in regions like Ohio, have provided crucial insight into its size, hunting style, and feeding habits. It was an apex predator of its time, adapting perfectly to the environment and its role in the food chain. Jaekelopterus was a true apex predator of the early Devonian, a time when giant arthropods ruled the waters. This genus of predatory Eurypterid, often referred to as a sea scorpion, was one of the largest and most fearsome creatures of its era. Fossils of Jaekelopterus have been found in both brackish and freshwater deposits, including areas in Rhineland, Germany, and Wyoming. The type species, Jaekelopterus rhenaniae, is thought to have reached lengths of 2.3 to 2.6 meters, or 7.5 to 8.5 feet, making it one of the largest known arthropods. Jaekelopterus shared many features with other pterygotid Eurypterids, including a large triangular telson, the tail segment, and powerful pincers and forelimbs. Its chelicerae were particularly robust and designed for actively capturing and crushing prey, much like the claws of modern crustaceans. These claws were lined with sharp teeth, allowing Jaekelopterus to easily puncture and tear into its prey. What set Jaekelopterus apart from other predators was its exceptional vision. Its compound eyes had a low interometidial angle, similar to those of modern predatory arthropods, which suggested high visual acuity. This would have allowed Jaekelopterus to detect prey from a distance, even in murky waters. Studies of its eye structure also suggest that Jaekelopterus had stereoscopic vision, providing depth perception crucial for hunting and navigating its environment. The eyes of Jaekelopterus were particularly specialized, with large photoreceptors measuring around 70 micrometers, far larger than those of most arthropods and even humans. This adaptation likely gave Jaekelopterus enhanced edge perception and contrast sensitivity, making it a highly effective predator in low-light conditions, such as the deeper waters where it likely hunted. With such physical power, advanced sensory abilities, and a highly specialized hunting strategy, Jaekelopterus was perfectly suited to dominate the ecosystems of its time, making it one of the top predators of the early Devonian. Deep in the prehistoric waters of what is now the American Midwest, a fearsome predator lurked. Around 328 million years ago, long before dinosaurs ruled the Earth, a massive, toothy carnivore dominated the freshwater lakes of the early Carboniferous period. This creature, Whatcheeria deltae, was a 6-foot-long apex predator, essentially the T-Rex of its time. Resembling an enormous salamander, Whatcheeria deltae thrived in a world of lush vegetation and sinkhole-formed lakes where it ruled unchallenged. With its powerful limbs and fang-filled jaws, it could go anywhere and eat anything. But what set it apart wasn't just its size or predatory prowess, it was how it grew. Unlike many of its early tetrapod relatives, Whatcheeria didn't take its time reaching adulthood. It bulked up quickly, racing to grow past the size range of potential predators. Studying its fossils revealed that young individuals shot up to about 3 feet before their growth rate slowed. This pattern of rapid, early development was surprising for such a primitive creature, as it was previously thought to be a trait of later terrestrial animals with higher metabolisms, like mammals, birds, and reptiles. The discovery suggests that early four-legged vertebrates experimented with different evolutionary strategies, and Whatcheeria took the fast-track approach. In a world where survival meant staying ahead of the competition, getting big fast was its key to dominance. For years, Megarachne was mistaken for something truly nightmarish, a giant prehistoric spider. With a name that translates to Great Spider, its fossils initially fueled this misconception. However, Megarachne was not an arachnid at all, but a eurypterid, an extinct group of aquatic arthropods often called sea scorpions. Unlike many of its relatives that thrived in saltwater, this predator dominated freshwater ecosystems during the late Carboniferous, lurking in the rivers and floodplains of what is now Argentina. Measuring around 54 centimeters or 21 inches long, Megarachne was a medium-sized eurypterid, dwarfed by some of its monstrous relatives like Jaekelopterus, which reached over 1.5 meters or 5 feet. It belonged to a rare group called mysteropods, specialized for a unique feeding strategy known as swamp feeding. Using the blade-like structures on its appendages, Megarachne raked through riverbed sediment, hunting small invertebrates hidden in the mud. Despite its fearsome appearance, Megarachne was more of an opportunistic feeder than an apex predator. Its parabolic head, small compound eyes, and a gladius-shaped tail suggest a bottom-dwelling lifestyle, ambushing prey rather than actively chasing it. This method of hunting was common among mysteropods, a lineage that included its closest relatives, Mysterops and Woodwardopterus. Fossil evidence has raised an intriguing possibility. Megarachne and its relatives may not have been separate species at all. Some paleontologists suggest that Megarachne, Mysterops, and Woodwardopterus could represent different growth stages of the same animal. If true, Megarachne, as the largest of the three, may have simply been an older individual, with its body structure changing as it matured. If this hypothesis is correct, the name Mysterops would take priority, as it was first named in 1886. The world Megarachne inhabited was dramatically different from today. During the late Carboniferous, South America was part of the vast supercontinent Gondwana, which was merging with other landmasses to form Pangaea. The climate was cooling, possibly leading to glaciation in the southern hemisphere, while seasonal monsoons shaped the landscape. The Bajo de Velis formation, where Megarachne's fossils were found, preserves an ecosystem teeming with life. Arthropophobia, the largest arthropod ever to walk the Earth. Living around 346 to 290 million years ago during the late Paleozoic era, this colossal arthropod could reach up to 2.6 meters or 8.5 feet in length and weigh more than 100 pounds or 45 kilograms. Its massive size was made possible by the oxygen-rich atmosphere of that time, which allowed arthropods to grow to proportions that would be impossible today. For over 100 years, scientists only had partial remains of Arthroplura. Its body displayed features similar to modern-day millipedes, but without the complete head. Paleontologists were unsure of its true relationship to millipedes and centipedes. While these two groups share similarities, they diverged around 440 million years ago, long before Arthroplura appeared on the scene. This lack of a head left the creature's place in evolutionary history a mystery. That all changed when CT scans revealed the fossilized head of two juvenile Arthroplura found in the Mons-les-Mines Lagerstätte fossil site in France. These scans revealed fascinating details: stalked eyes, curved antennae, and centipede-like mandibles. These features, particularly the stalked eyes, threw scientists for a loop. While stalked eyes are common in aquatic creatures like crustaceans, they are not typically found in terrestrial animals like millipedes and centipedes. The current consensus is that Arthroplura is more closely related to millipedes due to its overall anatomical structure, but the presence of stalked eyes remains a mystery. One possible explanation is that these juvenile Arthroplura may have spent more time in water than adults, which could explain the stalked eyes in the young, which they lost as they matured. This life stage hypothesis offers a fascinating glimpse into the biology of this giant arthropod. Nearly 300 million years ago, long before dinosaurs roamed the earth, a formidable predator ruled the land, the Dimetrodon. This sail-backed beast was the apex predator of the early Permian period, feeding on anything it could overpower. For much of history, Dimetrodon was misunderstood. In 1845, a fossilized jawbone discovered on Prince Edward Island was thought to belong to one of the oldest dinosaurs ever found. It was given the name Bathygnathus borealis. However, modern research led by paleontologist Kirsten Brink and her colleagues revealed a surprising truth. Dimetrodon was no dinosaur. It wasn't even a reptile in the traditional sense. Unlike dinosaurs, birds, and modern reptiles, classified as sauropsids, Dimetrodon belonged to the synapsids, an evolutionary group that would eventually give rise to mammals. That means, astonishingly, we are more closely related to Dimetrodon than any living reptile is. With this understanding, Brink and her team reclassified Bathygnathus borealis as Dimetrodon borealis, preserving the more familiar name for the species. Over the years, scientists have identified at least 14 species of Dimetrodon, though classification remains tricky. Some fossils, once thought to represent different species, may simply be juveniles of known ones. One of Dimetrodon's most striking features is its massive sail, a row of elongated spines rising from its back. In the largest Dimetrodon, which reached lengths of more than 4.6 meters or 15 feet, and might have weighed 250 kilograms or 550 pounds, the sail's tip would have stood at least 1.5 meters or 5 feet off the ground. But what was it for? Some paleontologists theorize it was thermoregulation, acting like a solar panel to absorb heat, but the lack of blood vessels in fossilized sails suggests otherwise. Others believe it may have been for display, perhaps a way to intimidate rivals, attract mates, or even blend into the environment. What is clear is that Dimetrodon was a formidable hunter. Analysis of its teeth shows adaptations over time, from blade-like structures to serrated edges, perfect for slicing through flesh. Early Dimetrodons likely hunted amphibians, like Diplodocus, but as time went on, their menu expanded. With the emergence of herbivorous vertebrates in the Permian, they had even more to feast on. Though Dimetrodon vanished long before dinosaurs rose to dominance, its legacy endures. A misunderstood creature, once mistaken for something it was not, now recognized as a distant relative of mammals, including us. Anteosaurus, aka Antaeus lizard, was an absolute unit of a predator. stomping around what's now South Africa during the late Guadalupian or Middle Permian, roughly 265 to 260 million years ago. This prehistoric tank measured 5 to 6 meters or 16 to 20 feet long and tipped the scales at about 600 kilograms or 1,300 pounds, making it the biggest carnivorous non-mammalian synapsid ever known. It wasn't just big, it was the undisputed top dog of its time, armed with the thick skull, bone-crushing jaws, and a nasty set of teeth built to take down massive prey like tectanosuchids, tapinocephalids, and those chunky parasaurs. Like other dinocephalians, Anteosaurus had thickened skull bones, pachyostosis, but not as extreme as some of its relatives. Its standout feature? A pair of bony, horned-like ridges above its eyes. Some scientists think these were used for headbutting battles, maybe for dominance or mating rights. Others believe they helped absorb the shock when Anteosaurus went full force into its prey, like a prehistoric battering ram. Baby Anteosaurus started out with relatively slim skulls, but as they grew, their bones bulked up, forming that signature reinforced skull roof. And despite its hefty build, the thing wasn't some sluggish ambush predator waiting around for dinner to walk by. Studies on its inner ear show it was built for speed, balance, and coordination, meaning it could straight up chase down prey and outmaneuver rivals. Some older theories suggested it moved like a croc, but newer research shuts that down. This beast was quick on its feet, and when it locked onto a target, that target was done for. Its teeth were built for destruction, not finesse. It had long incisors, thick canines, and sturdy postcanines, plus extra recurved teeth on the palatine bones to help grip and rip chunks of flesh. Some early researchers thought Anteosaurus might have been a semi-aquatic fish-eater, but its skull and dentition tell a different story. Its teeth resemble those of big game hunters like tyrannosaurids, blunt, bone-crunching weapons designed to rip apart massive land-dwelling prey. Around 260 million years ago, Anteosaurus and the rest of the dinocephalians got wiped out, likely due to massive volcanic eruptions in what's now China. The details of their extinction are still murky, but whatever went down, it marked the end of one of the Permian's most fearsome predators. This thing wasn't some slow, lumbering brute. It was a high-speed, bone-smashing powerhouse. If you were alive back then, you definitely wouldn't want to be on its menu. Inostrancevia is an extinct genus of large carnivorous therapsids that roamed the Earth during the late Permian period, roughly 260 to 252 million years ago. Fossils of this apex predator have been found in what is now European Russia and southern Africa. Its discovery dates back to a series of excavations from 1899 to 1914 in Russia's northern Dvina region, where near-complete skeletons of two specimens, Inostrancevia alexandri and Inostrancevia latifrons, were unearthed, marking the first identification of a Gorgonopsian in Russia. Inostrancevia is one of the largest known Gorgonopsians, reaching lengths of up to 3.5 meters or 11.5 feet and weighing approximately 300 kilograms or 660 pounds. Its skull, ranging from 40 to 60 centimeters or 16 to 24 inches in length, depending on the species, is broad and elongated, with large oval-shaped temporal fenestrae. The predator's dentition is particularly advanced, with saber-like canines that could reach lengths of up to 15 centimeters or 5.9 inches, which likely helped it shear the skin of its prey. Its jaw had an extraordinary gape, enabling it to inflict fatal bites, and the robust skeleton suggests it was well adapted for an active, predatory lifestyle. Inostrancevia lived in river ecosystems where it likely hunted dicynodonts and parasaurs, which were abundant at the time. In Russia, It was the dominant Gorgonopsian predator, while in South Africa it briefly coexisted with rubigines, before eventually becoming the apex predator after their disappearance. This species is often described as a scaled-up version of another Gorgonopsian, Lycaonops, due to its robust build and carnivorous habits. A 2020 study on saber-toothed predators found that Inostrancevia possessed a jaw capable of powerful bites, although it lacked the bone-crushing force of modern predators. Instead, the animal likely used its saber teeth to deliver slashing, lethal bites similar to the hunting techniques of Smilodon, the famous saber-toothed cat. Despite their relatively small brains, Gorgonopsians like Inostrancevia had well-developed turbinals in their nasal cavities, suggesting a keen sense of smell, which would have been crucial for tracking prey. With a mix of speed and strength, Inostrancevia likely ambushed its prey, using its powerful jaws to inflict devastating wounds and incapacitate its victims.